An encounter with an African penguin is a memorable highlight for many visitors to Cape Town. But meeting one in the wild might soon be no more than a distant memory.
The African penguin is critically endangered. In the last 3 penguin generations, we've lost 80% of the wild African penguins, and every single individual counts.
Dr. David Roberts is the resident veterinarian at SANCCOB. The South African Foundation for the Conservation of Coastal Birds was founded in 1968 in response to a major oil spill that affected seabirds in the Cape Town area.
African penguin only lives in Namibia and South Africa, so it's very local to the southern part of Africa. Hundreds of years ago, there were millions of African penguins. The numbers, unfortunately, have declined dramatically. We now always assume we have about 1% of the original population left.
Members of the public, staff and conservationists deliver injured, sick or distressed seabirds to the SANCCOB headquarters. Here they are received by trained staff and given veterinary care, fed and rehabilitated.
So now we're looking at our ICU birds. We do a whole lot of things. We're taking blood samples and we're checking the penguins. These African penguins are those that are healthy enough to move outside, but we still need to look after them very carefully. So there are a few, these brown ones that need to molt. They didn't get enough food in the wild and they couldn't go through their annual molt. And so they need to get fat and then they can replace all their feathers. Some that came in with injuries. Most important injuries that we see are predation bites, sharp bites, seal bites, and also human-related injuries as well, to entanglement and rubbish pollution, things like that.
It's International Penguin Day, so Dr. Roberts wears a tuxedo. The work in the centre is a crucial intervention. But the key to securing the future of the African penguin is to protect and boost the wild population. And one of the most stable and successful breeding colonies is here at Stony Point, right in the middle of the small resort town of Betty's Bay.
Historically, the African penguin would have never bred on the mainland because they do get predated on by caracals, by leopards. So the fact that there are actually towns around these colonies almost kind of facilitated the birds to settle there. These mainland colonies are currently actually some of the strongholds of the African penguin.
Gavin Peterson, a ranger at Stony Point, patrols the reserve to try and protect the penguins against the threats that they face on the mainland. But the most rewarding part of his job is to release rehabilitated penguins back into the wild.
It's just something to be glad in your heart, because then, for me, normally feels like somewhere I did something right, because now the bird is back and I released the bird back into the wild where the bird's supposed to be, and not with us in a rehabilitation center.
These birds may have been restored to health and released into a wild colony that is patrolled by committed rangers like Gavin. But the entire ecosystem that they depend upon is under enormous pressure.
So African penguins feed almost exclusively on sardine and anchovy, and those fish biomass have also declined dramatically, so the birds are really struggling to find food. South Africa has a very large industrial fisheries for sardine and anchovy, and they directly compete with the African penguins basically for the same fish. So for years we've been trying to influence government to put in place kind of restricted areas around the colonies where the penguins breed, because when they're raising their chicks they can only travel very short distances. Unfortunately, there has kind of to a standoff between the fishing industry and the conservation sector, and the government was unable to basically make a decision. So we are now litigating against the Minister of Environment.
While SANCCOB and its partner conservation organizations wait for the legal process to take its course, the fishing industry continues to reduce the fish stocks that the penguins depend upon for their survival.
So it's very frustrating when you put all this work in to see the population continue to decline, despite all the extra effort that conservation NGOs have been putting in. We really need urgent action. We need action at a government level and really decision-making about the trade in fisheries, in resources, reducing pollution, reducing the other impacts on the African penguin.